In 2016, a fierce Indigenous-led movement emerged at Standing Rock. The world watched while a powerful oil company and police teamed up to unleash violence on protesters. Ultimately, the pipeline company won. Now, Energy Transfer Partners is extending that pipeline to Louisiana, and another resistance is brewing. This time, it's out in the swamps of Cajun Country, across Indigenous lands and waterways, and in communities of color. Waging war on big oil isn't easy, but people here are not going down without a fight.
Oil and gas is king in Louisiana.
We are going to fight every inch of this pipeline going in the ground in whatever way we can.
They're profiting off of our pain.
And my fight is clean water, clean soil, and clean air.
Activists here call the pipeline the Black Snake.
We call it, kicking the snake in its.
We are driving across Louisiana to talk to people affected and see what they're doing to resist. Our first stop, Indian Bayou.
This is the land of refugees and survivors and thrivers.
I'm with Sharif Wetland, who runs the Lowi Lavi protest camp, which means water is life. They travel to different locations to disrupt pipeline construction.
We're resisting one of the largest, Goliath-type beasts in the world, which is the oil and gas industry. It didn't start at Standing Rock, that people were fighting, especially Indigenous people, Indigenous mothers and grandmothers, have been fighting for ourselves and for this land and for the water and the safety of the people who live here for generations upon generations upon generations. Energy Transfer Partners has spilled every 11 days, on average, for the past 15 years.
The camp bought an 11-acre piece of land in the pipeline's path, which serves as its headquarters. The pipeline company was forced to change its plans and reroute around the camp because of the holdout. Protesters have had run-ins with police and pipeline security.
The intimidation has been pretty intense at times. There is some sort of shadowy group that's around. It's in very dark tinted cars. I've been Piggly Wiggly and they'll be taking pictures of me and my kids, shopping for food, or they'll be outside my house or whatever. They'll stop us for a traffic ticket with their guns drawn. It's almost like they want to see something happen.
Just being at camp is pretty difficult. It's 98 degrees right now and oppressively humid.
It's the mosquitoes you got to worry about, because they will eat you up. Since colonization happened, Indigenous peoples here in Louisiana, what's now called Louisiana, were pushed back further and further into the swamps. And not only did they find a way to thrive there, they also found a way to resist there. It is a gorgeous place, worth protecting, and there's so much more to protect. I worry about the idea that, it's all gone, that it's all refineries and chemical plants,
Our next stop is out in Cajun Country, where a huge point of contention is the pipeline running through the Atchafalaya Basin, the biggest wetlands area in the United States. Many Cajun people, like Jody Mesh, depend on it to make a living. He's suing the Army Corps of Engineers for allowing ETP to come into the basin given the damage past pipelines have done.
These people make billions and billions of dollars, and there's no reason why they should destroy such a sensitive ecosystem and a sensitive world that we live in. You know what I'm saying? But I'm telling y'all, when I get a trap full of dead crawfish, that ain't no good. It's an indication of the canary in the mine shaft.
Jody has been fishing here all his life. It was a trade that was passed down by his father and his grandfather before that.
What it's all about. There's too much at stake. There's people's livelihoods at stake. There's numerous species of fish and birds and all types of marine animals that survive out here. The Cajun people and the Cajun way of life, we were born and we followed our parents and watched them do their living by fishing and making their way of life in the Atchafalaya Basin, catching fish, crawfish, hunting stuff to eat. And you adapt to that way of life. You're born into that.
A judge put a temporary halt on pipeline construction due to Jody's case. The ruling was appealed, and now construction is back on.
This is the newly cleared right-of-way for the Bayou Bridge pipeline. I'm worried about the risk of a 20-inch oil pipeline potentially obstructing and leaking. Should that oil leak to a capacity that it spreads across these thousands of acres of critical habitat, I mean, you definitely have a major disaster.
Oil companies have changed the Atchafalaya Basin already. They clear large areas of trees and bore down into the swamp bottom. The excess dirt dams up certain areas and creates pockets of dead swamp where nothing can survive.
There's creatures that are relying on this water. It should have been better taken care of than what it was, and I want to make sure that it's done better in the future so we don't continue to lose areas like what we've lost. And none of those creatures, can give interviews or can go to legislatures and cry out to the people who are supposed to be doing the job to represent the environment and represent the people and represent them.
Another issue which is all too real in Louisiana, flooding. Dredging has caused sediment buildup, and the basin now has less capacity to hold floodwaters.
The water, as it comes into the basin, it has to go higher up on the levee systems, putting our levee systems, which are not up to par, at greater risk of breaching or topping and flooding millions of people in countless communities. We're not opposed to the oil and gas industry. We're not opposed to your jobs and your jobs being related to the oil and gas industry. We just know the job can be done better.
75 miles east, there's another waterway that could be seriously damaged. We're meeting with Monique Verdan, a tribal councilwoman for the Homa Nation.
This water body behind me, the Bayou Lafourche, provides over 300,000 people south of here with their drinking water, their bathing water, their everything water. This really is the lifeline for the United Homa Nation. The Homa dodged the Trail of Tears by going deep into the delta, to the ends of the bayous, where they had everything they needed because they were able to provide for themselves. If the pipeline were to burst, or if there was to be an accident, that's not only the water for the Bayou Lafourche, that's the water for everybody in New Orleans, that's the water for everybody south of New Orleans.
Monique is part of a coalition of Indigenous women who focus on divestment. So they urge big banks to stop funding companies that build pipelines on sacred land.
When you look at this legacy of colonialism here, and then you follow the pipeline money, it leads back to Europe, to these big banks that are investing in these corporations.
At the end point of the pipeline, our final stop is the town of St. James, where residents are pushing back. Harry Joseph, who pastors a tiny Baptist church, is, like Jody, suing the pipeline company.
With the Bayou Bridge pipeline, you saw how they twisted and how they turned it, till they got to St. James through a lot of black areas, or through a lot of Hispanic areas, a lot of Indians. They ain't went through none of the white folks' areas.
For years, oil and gas companies have run rampant on this low-income black community. People live with huge fuel tanks in their backyards. Refineries and pipelines are everywhere.
They need to move up the road somewhere and let people up there store their oil because they ain't gonna get here. I'll make sure that we got enough tanks in there. We got 118 tanks. That's enough. But with the Bayou Bridge pipeline, that means more tanks. That means more oil gonna be stored here. That means more leaks gonna be here. That means that more smells are gonna be here. We got oil leaking now and nobody wanna take the responsibility.
St. James is in the heart of Cancer Alley, a stretch of Louisiana with some of the highest rates of cancer in the country.
Eventually, if you stay here, you're gonna die. My church is a family. I don't look at my members as my members, I look at them as my family because we're very close. And one of my members is sickly, she got cancer. So that's why I'm involved, because when my people hurt, I hurt. When my people suffer, I suffer.
Previous pipeline companies have closed off a road that served as an evacuation route for part of the community. People worry if there was a leak or explosion, they would have no way out.
This is not a want. This is a need. We need an evacuation route. I'm gonna fight, I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do. But I don't think we're gonna overcome, because once you let one in, and you let another one in, and you let another one in, and you let a Bayou Bridge pipeline in, you didn't let too much come in already.
Louisiana already has over 50,000 miles of pipelines, and they're second only to Texas in refineries. While the industry props up their economy, they also have the most to lose to the effects of climate change, which is caused by these fossil fuel industries.
We lose a football field of land every 45 minutes in South Louisiana, And any land that goes underwater becomes property of the state, and the state leases it back to the oil and gas industry.
1/3 of the nation's oil and gas is either being produced or transported via South Louisiana. But I always like to remind people that we're the best worst example. When it comes to poverty in America, we're at the top of the list. When it comes to quality education and healthcare, we're at the bottom of the list.
Louisiana has powered all of the United States to great sacrifice of ourselves. You know, we at this point are like a stage 4 lung cancer patient that's continuing to smoke. You know, it's time to make that change so that we are actually able to survive.